me if you've heard this before. The wide receiver class in this year's NFL draft is absolutely stacked. But unlike years past, there's no clear consensus of who will be first off the board. There's the impressive duo out of Ohio State with Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave. Wilson, an elite home run threat, and Olave, a route-running technician, each with the skill set that translates into any system.
Both these two guys are absolutely phenomenal, but I think it was Garrett Wilson who will ultimately be the first wide receiver taken from the Ohio State University.
For USC star Drake London, it didn't matter who was throwing them the ball. The productivity remained elite. The former basketball standout excels in contested ball situations.
The throw, looking for London, caught one-handed. Wow, Drake London with a one-handed snare. It's a touchdown.
Treylon Burks improved every year at Arkansas and possesses the size, speed, and playmaking ability that all teams covet at the next level.
Caught at midfield. Treylon inside the Bama 40. He's got a chance to the 20, to the 10. Touchdown, Arkansas! Treylon Burks just ran away from him.
Then there's the case of Jamison Williams, who would have likely been the top wide receiver selected if not for his torn ACL suffered in the national title game. Williams, who was eyeing sub 4.3 range, is expected to make a full recovery and could be a bargain later in round one.
Jamison Williams behind the defense. He's got it. Touchdown, Alabama! What a throw. What a catch.
So where will these talented pass catchers land? We're going to find out starting April 28th in Sin City.
It is mock draft season. It is Ryan Wilson season. Welcome to CBS Sports NFL draft analyst Ryan Wilson, also a member of the Pick 6 podcast. Download and subscribe today. Here to break down his latest top 10. He's got one skill position player selected in the first 10 picks. USC receiver Drake London going to the Jets as the first receiver off the board. Ryan, why London over Ohio State's Garrett Wilson?
Yeah, we heard Joe Musso just talk about it in that segment. This wide receiver class is packed together, and you could pick one out of a hat and pretty much hit a home run. This week it was Drake London, but there's a lot to like about Drake London's game. He's 6'5". He's only about 210, so he can put on some weight for sure, but he is a contested catch machine. His huge catch radius, all the buzzwords you hear about these big framed wide receivers, and that's exactly what Drake London gives you. He was basically the only bright spot on that USC offense. Keaton Slovis has since transferred after struggling, but Drake London was making play after play after play. You see the athleticism there until the fractured ankle ended his season with about 3 games to go. A few years ago, he played with Michael Pittman. I think he's going to be a better pro than Michael Pittman, and Pittman's been pretty good as a second-round pick for the Colts. So why over him instead of these Ohio State receivers that you talk about, Akeem? It's close, man. Like, I love Garrett Wilson's game. I think he is as electric as they come in this draft class in the wide receiver position. I have him going to Cleveland in part because I think he's a good fit there, but in part because he sort of reminds me of Odell Beckham in terms of athleticism, and I think that's sort of funny to give them another Odell Beckham after how things ended. You may think differently, Akeem, but as for Drake London, I have him going 10th overall. I think he goes in that range, and it's not a surprise. That said, we can certainly see a Garrett Wilson go there as well. Also, won't be a surprise because of how good these guys have been over the course of the 2021 season.
Well, Zach Wilson would be happy to get Drake London at 10. He'd be happy to get Garrett Wilson as well. And then you'd have Wilson to Wilson, and you'd have Ryan Wilson talking about it. So we'll see. We'll see if that happens. Offensive lineman, always a premium. Thank you for the courtesy laugh. I really appreciate that. Offensive lineman, always a premium and a need on draft day. You've got 3 offensive linemen getting selected with the top 5 picks. Take us through your thought process. Who do you have going where?
So here's the question. The Jaguars have the first overall pick again in back-to-back years. Last year they got Trevor Lawrence, of course. This year they could take the best player in the draft, which is probably either Aiden Hutchinson or Kayvon Thibodeau, depending on who you're talking to. Or instead they could fill a huge need, and I have them filling a huge need with Ike Ekwonu, the left tackle at ANC State. Is he the best player in this draft class? No, but he's close. And if he's close enough that he can help your offense right away, get him out there. You don't need another edge rusher. They've drafted 2 in the first round in the last 3 years, and they've been a terrible football team. Get Ekwonu, who I've been sort of nicknaming Dr. Pancake because I think the way he drives these edge rushers into the ground, I think that would certainly translate very well to the next level. Evan Neal, we just saw there, he was been the front runner for the longest time as the left tackle and perhaps the first offensive lineman off the board. He's had a good season, but not a great season, and I've talked to NFL teams that have felt that way about him, so I think there's a chance he slips a little bit, and I have him going to Houston at number 3. Obviously a need there if Davis Mills is going to be your guy, and then finally Charles Cross, who had a fantastic season out of Mississippi State, goes one pick later to the Jets. So the Jets get help along the offensive line and get Drake London. And by the way, this is how you build around a rookie quarterback, or now second-year quarterback in Zach Wilson. You have Mekhi Becton you drafted in the first round. You have Elijah Vera Tucker who you drafted in the first round. You come back for the third time and get another offensive lineman to protect Zach Wilson and that big play threat in Drake London.
I like the nickname, Dr. Pancake, for Ekem Ekwonu. Let's get that trending here. That's a great nickname. That would be great if we could look up one day in his Wikipedia page, Dr. Pancake, nicknamed by Ryan Wilson. I'd like that. A shout out there for you. Both New York teams have 2 top 10 picks. Jets at 4 and 10, as you mentioned, while the Giants are at 5 and 7. Who do you have new Giants GM Joe Shane taking with their first 2 picks?
Well, I mean, it's a recurring theme among like the top 10 picks with franchise quarterbacks. You need to address the offensive line. That's no different for the Giants. But instead, because all these offensive linemen have gone off the board, I've been getting a lot better on defense. Our guy, producer Rob Arciero, says, don't change this mock draft no matter what as a Giants fan. So Kayvon Thibodeau at number 5, and then 2 picks later, Sauce Gardner, who's the first cornerback off the board ahead of Derek Stingley at number 7. A really good defense, got a lot better. And I think you can't pass on either of these guys if the offensive linemen aren't there that you want. And it makes a ton of sense because Thibodeau has a chance to be special, and he could go first overall. So if he's sitting there at 5, you have to go up there and grab him. And then Sauce Gardner, who played better than Derek Stingley this year because he was on the field. Stingley only played 3 games, but he improved a ton from 2020 to 2021. I wanted him to get a little bigger and a little stronger. He did those things. He was a shutdown type corner as much as you can be in today's football, as we've seen, and he did a lot of things really well. Great season for him at Cincinnati, and I think it's going to end up with him being a top 10 selection by the time it's all said and done.
Yeah, no passing touchdowns allowed on over 1,000 career coverage snaps, which is pretty incredible. You know, I'm curious because you spoke with Kayvon Thibodeau on set in L.A. ahead of the Super Bowl. And I'm curious if you think that some of these stories get drummed up, that they start coming out because teams down the board, they want to make these stories up. They send them to sources. They say, hey, Kayvon Thibodeau, he doesn't have fire in his belly. And then he ends up dropping in the draft because of the nonsense. What do you make of that?
It's funny you say that, Akeem, because Chris Hassel, our guy in the Fort Lauderdale office, asked him that exact same question. He gave a great answer, what felt like an answer you'd expect someone to give, that he, come watch me play on the field. You can see how I practice, see how hard I work. I actually reached out to a couple scouts, and here's what I was told. It's not an issue of whether he's going to play hard, because he will play hard all the time. The issue is, will he take tough coaching? And, when you're one of the best players on the field every single time you step on the field, perhaps you're used to being coached differently. I get that. But also, this is the response I got back from that very same scout. He said, look, maybe we're overthinking this thing. Maybe Kayvon Thibodeau is a legit top 1, 2, or 3 guy, and we're just talking ourselves into a bunch of stuff because we have time to kill. If the draft were January 15th, Akeem, Kayvon Thibodeau would probably be the first or second player taken. But as you point out, we have 6-8 weeks to kill, and you can talk yourselves into anything in that length of time. And I think part of the process is sorting through the nonsense, and this feels like it's probably more nonsense than not. And if you get him at number 5, like we just discussed, that feels like robbing.
He played for Mario Cristobal. That's a tough coach in college. So, all right, we'll see how that plays out. And like the Giants, the Broncos have a new head coach, former Packers OC Nathaniel Hackett. Denver picks 9th. You've got them selecting Jermaine Johnson II, which would be the 4th edge rusher in the top 10. You were at the Senior Bowl. He was a monster there. What more can you tell us about the Florida State product?
So coming into the Senior Bowl, during the season, I thought he was a second-round guy. I thought he had a really good season, transferred from Georgia, where understandably it's hard to get snaps in that defense. And he transformed his game. He had 11.5 sacks, I believe, in 2021, and he was a difference maker in that defense. Again, second-round pick, no shame in that. He gets to the Senior Bowl, and he's just blowing guys up in one-on-one drills and team drills. He didn't play in the game on Saturday, which typically happens when you destroy practices. There's no reason to go out there and risk injury. But, as we like to say, he made himself a lot of money with that performance. He reminded me a lot in what Montez Sweat did a few years ago in showing up at the Senior Bowl and dominating that performance. The issue with Montez Sweat is that he had a heart issue that was realized late in the draft process, and he still went in the bottom of the first round. He had a chance to be a top 15 guy. Same thing with Jermaine Johnson based on the way he played this season and based on what NFL teams got to see up close and personal in Mobile last month.
All right, time now for your Geico 15-second statement, a bold statement on the top 10. Ryan, what do you have for us?
So here's the bold statement. I'm going to actually take it to the Combine next week, where we'll be in Indianapolis. 13 players, Akeem, have run sub 4.3 40s. I think we're going to see another one this week. The question is going to become, who is it? Is it going to be Dax Hill, the defensive back out of Michigan? Is it going to be Tariq Woolen, B-Max guy out of UTSA, the cornerback there? Is it going to be Derek Stingley, who we haven't seen since September? Can he run in the sub 4.3 range? I think it's going to happen, and I think, of course, it'll be something we talk about, and I think it's going to improve vastly that person's draft stock once it happens.
All right, there you go. A sub 4.3 40. I like it. That's fast. NFL Combine again begins next week in Indy. Ryan Wilson will be there. And for his entire first-round mock draft, head to CBSSports.com. Ryan, thanks. And for all things NFL, check out the Pick Six podcast. Join host Will Brinson and his super friends Ryan Wilson and John Breach, delivering your daily fix of NFL news and analysis. Gets you up to speed so you're always in the know. The Pick Six podcast. Download and subscribe today.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.